Hey everyone, as the weather in New England starts to turn more toward fall and shorter days, and the temperatures outside, although this summer didn't lend it well to be shooting outside either, but the weather tends to lend it more to indoor photography, it's time to talk again about lighting. Now, flash is a way to handle lighting. And there's a ton of variations you can do on flash. You can get gels that go over the flash itself so that you can change its color. They're very easy to handle. They're very easy to carry around and partially easy to set up. I'll get to the setup in a minute. But the advantage about them is that they're small, right? You can throw 2, 3, 4 of them in your camera bag and you're all set to go. You don't have to worry about things. So that's the plus side of them. But the downside is, of course, setup and how they function. Now, setup, especially if you want things at a particular height, let's say you're doing a portrait of people standing, you don't want the flash on your camera. All right, that's kind of a golden rule. If you have to use a flash on the camera, you can. But again, it puts those stark shadows around the subject shot at the angle that you are taking their picture from. It doesn't lead to the best image. So now you've got to have a couple of flashes. You've got to have a controller for it. Again, all small stuff that you can throw in your bags. It makes it very easy. But where do you put the flash? Right? If you're taking a portrait and the person's sitting, you might have the ability to put it on a table, for example. But what else are you going to use? Now, there are lighting stands, but now we're getting into something more that you have to carry, right? So now you've gone from these nice little devices that you can just throw in your bag and carry with you to something more. So unless your environment, again, I'm going to harp on this every single time, know the environment you're going to be shooting in, if at all possible. If the environment is going to give you something, for example, some chairs that you could use that are going to be of an acceptable height for the light coming off of it to give you the look that you're shooting for. If you're going to do that, then you can get away with these. If not, now you're talking about having some kind of flash stand, right? Some lighting stand that you have to have. So now you've brought a couple of more items with you. So you're going to shoot with 3 flashes. 1 a little offset from where you are, and 2 other out, making a triangular shape towards your subject. All 3 of those are going to need some way of staying up off the ground, because you don't want these, unless it's the style you're going for, you don't want the flash to shoot up underneath the person's face, right? That said, now that you're carrying light stands, does it make sense to use flash anymore? Well, if you're using flash, there are some really cool effects you can get from using flash, right? Those stop motion effects that you see, where it's one picture after another with the flash being the only light that you see. So you see these little gaps, and the movements are different, and it gives you a completely different style of photography. But we're talking here about portraits, just general portraits. And if you're going to go along those lines, I'm going to say you're going to bring light stands anyway, bring lights. Now, I've got a pair that I like that I haven't gotten to use too much. I'll be using it again in a couple of weeks. But what they are is I've got 2 LED panels. Now, they're good-sized panels. They're maybe 1 foot by 1 foot. But there's several things that a lighting panel will give you. Again, you already have to have light stands. Now, these light stands will be a little beefier than what you would have had for the flashes, obviously. But that allows you, with all sets of light stands, to adjust the height, etc. But the thing you're going to get with these LED lights is a couple of things. some of which you can replicate with a flash. And one of the things you can replicate from the flash is that you can structure the light, right? You could put a softbox around a flash. You can put other things around the flash to aim the light at the subject in the way that you want. So now that you've got the ability to aim the light, right? And the reason you're doing that is by aiming the light towards your subject, you're losing less light, which gives less impact to the environment around you. But on the other hand, it also means that more light hits your subject. There are also barn doors, but again, some things just don't work as well on a flash due to its small size. So these LED panels that I've got also allow you to change color. Now, the advantage of that, does it work on a flash? You get the same type of thing with a flash using gels. So this isn't really a difference between it. It's a little bit less adjustable in a way, although you could turn it to white and put a large gel over the lights. The lights have barn doors on them, so you can focus the light on your subject. And for those of you who aren't familiar, a barn door is just a swinging obstruction. It sits around your device so that the light goes in front of it as opposed to off to the sides. If you've worked with a flash, they have covers that go over them that not only will soften the light, but they'll have thicker sides to them so that the light, as it comes out of the flash, has to go in a particular direction. They're usually not very big. And barn doors typically aren't gigantic. I mean, they're not going to go the entire way. You want them to be easily foldable. This LED light system, the barn doors have to all fold over the front of it, right? So you've got barn doors on both sides. The most they could be is 12 inches. And it's a 12 by 12 square. So the top and bottoms, again, the biggest they could be is 12 inches. They're not going to be because you've got hinges, etc., but you get the idea. So both of them have ways of aiming the light. Both of them have ways of changing the color. It's easier with a good set of LED lights than it is with the gels. Just because with the gels, you really have to know what you're doing. You have to know how they're going to align with each other. And you got to get the colors right. If you don't have a particular color that you're looking for, you've got to find it. That said, gels give you much more flexibility because you can put these things together. Lighting means that you're not going to get that flashback from a person's eyes, and you're not going to blind your subject. Even with a softbox, you still have that possibility of blinding them a little bit because of the amount of light that's being hit. Again, depending upon the environment you're in and how much lighting's around them, etc. The other thing you get with the LEDs, because I know there's some people out there that are going to say, well, a flash, I can put it anywhere. I don't have to worry about cables. True. These LED lights are the same way. They have battery packs on them so that you don't have to have them cabled. Again, battery packs are going to be bigger for these than they are for the flash because your lights are going to stay on possibly longer than a flash does. Flash has to generate itself up to the power that it needs to do the flash. So you get that warm-up flash and then re-warm up stages on those. So there is a drain on the batteries there. A little bit different when you're talking about LED lights. LED lights, you can also change the intensity of the light so you can make them brighter or less bright. The other advantage you get from the lighting is you can set the lighting up, put your subject in there, and then play with the lighting with your subject in place to see how it comes out, rather than trying to take a picture and then see how you like the way the flash came out and try it again, or using a light meter to try to guesstimate where it's going to be. You can actually put your person in the lighting. You can change the lighting to match them a little bit better because you can look at how the lighting impacts them, impacts what they're wearing, impacts the environment that they're in. Maybe you want to go a little more yellow. Maybe you want to go a little less yellow. Again, it's an art doing that, and it's a greater art, if you will, trying to use the gels and get that set up with the flash. But once you got your lighting in place, all right, and you've got your colors in place, now you're ready to shoot. Your lights have to be protected, obviously, that they don't get knocked over, which may or may not include weights, depending on where they are and what your structure of your lighting stands look like. You've got them at the right height, you're ready to go. If you've got a series of portraits that you're doing, for example, let's say you were doing some corporate portrait photography, once you got the thing set up, you can take everybody's picture, just turn the lights off, when you get the next person ready, turn the lights back on again, and do the next shoot. So unless you're doing it kind of like an assembly line where the first person has their picture taken, steps out, the next person immediately steps in. But again, these also allow you to have a cabled power supply if you're going to be doing a big thing. I typically like to use them for shorter setups, which means the batteries don't drain quite as much, which means I need to take them and drain the batteries every so often down to about 50-some-odd% and then let them charge back up. But it's a double battery pack on it, so you get the weight of the batteries, the weight of the lights, and the weight of the stands, as opposed to, and a carrying case to put them in, as opposed to being able to throw something in your camera bag. Personally, if I'm not doing any specialized stuff, I would rather not use the flash and use the lighting. But again, if you've got to use lighting stands, they're going to take up space. Now, the flash lighting stands usually don't take up as much space. They're also a lot easier to knock over because of that. The legs don't go out quite as far. But they take up a lot less weight in your bag. And a couple of lighting stands, if you're doing 3 flashes, you got 3 lighting stands, they're going to be about as much weight as a tripod, right? Tripods are usually beefier beasts than these are going to be. Now, that's another issue. If you're going to be taking photographs, you could use your tripod to hold the flash or to hold the light. I don't recommend it. Put your camera on a tripod. Make sure that you have some kind of remote shuttering device for that camera so that you can step away from it. It buys you 2 things. If you're using like a Canon R5 or any of the newer, even DSLRs, they usually have a screen on the back, and through that screen you can see what the camera is going to see. So you don't have to have your eye in the lens, which allows you the opportunity to bump your camera, so you can actually stand back and look through that screen and get everything lined up and move people around and things and just check the screen. It makes it a lot easier for you to be interactive with your client, because you're not stuck behind the camera and trying to direct them. You're not muffled behind because you're behind the camera. You can actually step away from the camera and look at the screen and move people around as you need to, both from what you can see there, and then you can double check it on the screen. Then once you've got that done, you got the trigger. You got them in place at the button. That's all it takes, right? Now, the R5 has it on a timer in order for it to go, but it doesn't really time it. So when you hit the button, what would normally be a shutter press timer button just gives it 2 little quick flash on the camera. Nice part about that is if you don't tell people about it and the camera flashes at them a couple times, they might look at the camera if they had looked away. But it gives you that couple quick warning flash as it takes the picture. So it doesn't have the timed element to it when you're using the shutter release, even though you're using a timed element if you were pushing the shutter button. And that's so you can press the shutter button and step away from the camera and not bump it for the pictures. But again, why take the risk? If you're going to do that, all you have to do is take a picture and go from there. You've got your lighting in place. You've got everything set up. and you're ready to take your pictures, whether you use a flash or a lighting thing. Again, I'm going to recommend that you're using more lights than you are flashes, especially if you've got a place that you can shoot. It's less impactful to the person having their picture taken because you don't have that flashlights in your eyes, but it's also less impactful if you're shooting at a venue. Let's say you aren't shooting in a hotel room, but you've found a lovely lodge and they've got a gorgeous fireplace and you want to shoot in front of the fireplace. So you've got your lights turned to that same orangey yellow glow that's coming out of the fireplace. When you take the picture, because you're not dealing with a flash, you're not impacting anybody else who could possibly be in the room with you while you're taking that photograph. You're actually enhancing the atmosphere of the room a little bit with the lighting that you're adding to it. But again, for me, I think lighting makes a better alternative to using a flash or using a high ISO, because you always have the option of not using any lighting at all and cranking up the ISO, which I have to do in a couple of spots when I shoot at the fort. I have to go to a 1600 ISO, which I really don't like because I don't want to move lighting in there and ruin the environment in which I'm shooting. Now, if I were going there and having them pose and do the stuff and setting up something like that, well, that's a different situation because I don't have to worry about impacting visitors who came to see the event itself. But I'm not. I'm there with a bunch of other people, and I don't want to use flash in that situation, and I can't use lighting. So in that case, I have to use higher ISO. And again, while I say I would rather use lighting, there are going to be a lot of times when you just can't, where you can't use anything at all, or the only thing you can really use in the environment you're in is a flash. So that's what I got for you guys this week as we prepare to go into fall and winter and more indoor shooting to help you get prepared for that. And I will talk to you all next week.